Okay, betters, I have an awesome video for y'all today. What if I were to tell you that men in black neuralizers were a real thing?
Sorry.
Well, according to podcaster Danny Jones, Chris Bledsoe went on his podcast and told him about this real-life men in black neuralizer that actually exists. Now, the caveat is Danny had to delete it from the interview that he did with Chris Bledsoe because he felt it was just too much, and so he didn't include it. But in this interview that I'm about to show you a clip of with another podcaster named Jesse Michaels, he revealed that information, and I found that to be absolutely fascinating because, you see, they were talking about how the Chris Bledsoe episode on Danny Jones got, I don't know what suppressed, I guess is the right word, right? Something about it was, just not getting shown on YouTube, right? Couldn't find it in the search and whatever, that kind of thing. So he revealed that this is a segment that he cut out. And if you're familiar with the UFO community and some of the most mysterious people in it, you'll never believe who told Chris Bledsoe about this neuralizer. His name is Tim Taylor.
We were just talking about, Tim Taylor.
Yes,
who
that's the guy.
I would always mention pseudonymously. He was written about in this great book by Diana Pasulka, religious studies professor, called American Cosmic. And then he was kind of doxxed by Chris Bledsoe on your show, actually.
Right,
So,
which I thought that might have been the reason that video got completely blasted off the face of YouTube because of him talking about him. Right, because if I'm that guy and I have all these connections that he allegedly has, I could probably make a call or send an email to somebody at YouTube being like, nuke this thing.
Totally. Yeah, well, that's what, and Bledsoe even says in the story that Tim Taylor gives him a whole brief about UFOs. And then he says, you can't send this to anybody. And then he sends the email or something to his wife or I don't know, somebody very close, and immediately gets a call from Tim being like,
knowing that he forwarded it.
Yeah, you f***ed up. Yeah. And so, who knows if that's a test and they're just sort of being psyoped or, I don't know. I think even Bledsoe thinks that, maybe he was being messed with initially when he sort of entered his life. And even when I think he was giving him a tour of Kennedy Space Center. What was
he said when you walk through the security, when you walk past the security tower, he goes, just play a song in your head.
Yeah, so they can't access your thoughts.
So they can't access your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And I asked him, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, who's in there?
Yeah.
And he didn't know. He's like, mind readers. I don't know. I don't know if they're aliens or humans, but they read your minds.
What? So, famously experiencer Chris Bledsoe, who wrote the book UFO of God, went to this space center famously with Tim Taylor, who is pseudonymously known as Tyler D in American Cosmic, which is Diana Pasulka's book. I've covered Tim Taylor so many times on this channel. I made a huge deep dive video. I'll put a link in the description if you want to learn a little bit more about him. I'm going to be doing a part 2, so stay with me on that. That's going to take a bit. But regardless, so he takes, Chris Bledsoe out to this Space Center and tells him, when you're walking by security, hum a song in your head so they can't read your thoughts. Wouldn't they read the song? You know what I mean? And then know you're trying to hide your thoughts. I mean, what are we talking about here? What kind of technology or people do they have in there, right? Hybrids, something what are we? I don't know. It gets weirder. So stay with me. We're about to get to the neuralizer part. And there's even a crazier thing that gets mentioned about secret space programs and time travel too. Oh, we're not done, y'all.
Yeah.
And then he also said some shit that I'm like, I don't even know if I want to say on camera, but he
say it, Danny.
He told me some stuff. Okay, essentially, I'll dumb it down so it's not too technical, but he basically told me that this fella showed him a real life Men in Black neuralizer.
No way.
That wipes your memory.
No way.
This is what he told me.
How can you know if it's a neuralizer?
We actually cut the segment out of the podcast because I was like, there's no way I'm putting this on the podcast. It was like a 10-minute chunk of that Bledsoe podcast where he explains everything about it, how it works, where they got it from.
No way.
Yeah, bro.
Why didn't they neuralize him after they described the whole neuralizer? That would seem like...
You would think they would want to do that, right?
I mean, honestly, that's the first thought I had as well, Jesse. Why would they just not neuralize him right after explaining it all, right? Doesn't make sense that they would let him go with that information unless that information is just planted, right? That'd be the only reason. Otherwise, you would just neuralize him, right? But he was told where it came from, how it works, all of this. So I don't know. Are these real things? I never really heard of a real life neuralizer before. This is the first time I'm hearing something like this in the UFO community. And I've heard it all, but I have not heard this. I mean, the only place I've seen it is in Men in Black, like that clip I showed at the beginning, right? Famously, that's where everybody knows it from, right? That's what it's called in the movie. So I don't know, but maybe the idea for it came from something real. I don't know.
But like that is like essentially is like one of the explanations for the missing time stuff. And he had another story about like missing time where they were like walking through a forest.
Yep.
I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but like they were walking, him and Tim were walking through a forest with somebody like looking for something. And then all of a sudden they started over.
Whoa.
Like they almost like started back to where they were an hour ago with in an instant, like almost it was like a loop, like they looped through time or something.
It's fascinating.
Weird.
I don't know. Well, I just, we were talking earlier about, I did a piece on this guy, Thomas Townsend Brown, who I think is just a fascinating character.
One of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Thank you, man.
It is incredible.
Appreciate that. Yeah, well, he's amazing. He's, I think, like a forgotten hero in American history. I think he made all sorts of breakthroughs in the world of gravity. But in general relativity, gravity and time are related. So the kind of subplot of his whole biography, it's a great biography called The Man Who Mastered Gravity by a guy named Paul Shatskin. Recommend you all read it. Mm-hmm. The subplot is that he's obsessed with time travel. And he talks about time travel constantly with his wife, Josephine, his daughter, Linda. And here's where it gets really weird. Apparently, Tim Taylor told Chris Bledsoe that he was part of a secret time travel group in Nassau in the Bahamas. And the president of that group was Thomas Townsend Brown.
So it just gets weirder, right? This is a great episode. I'll put a link in the description to the Danny Jones podcast interviewing Jesse Michaels. Really, really great conversation. Two, podcasters at the top of their fields coming together to chat. You could tell Danny was really into it. Jesse's really into it. I like conversations like that. So it was really, really good conversation, especially for a content creator like myself. I really enjoyed hearing from both of them because they're both two dudes that I, look up to in this field for how much they've accomplished and, what they've done. So, but yeah, so Chris Bledsoe gets told that Tim Taylor is part of some secret space program that involves time travel, and Townsend Brown was the president, right, in the Bahamas. And again, I've covered this before, but I just find that such an interesting, story. Again, you got this neuralizer, there's just so much here. I don't even know what to think, but this neuralizer thing for sure, because I just never heard that before. So let me know in the comments, have you ever heard anything like this before? And if you can, put a source for where you heard it, right, a link or something. So we can follow up, but I don't know. How would a real neuralizer work, right? It would have to like rewire your brain, essentially. Whatever light they shined into your, eyes would have to somehow get into your brain, and that's all memories are, right? It would have to just like rewire some shit. So I don't know even how scientifically that would work, but again, I'm an idiot, so that doesn't mean anything, but I don't know, right? And it would have to be so compact it would fit in a little like stick thing that you could, what did it look like? And anyway, I could think about this all day long. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll see you guys in the next video. Link in the description. Remember, Vettas, every day's a gift. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.